Sign up to the SBR Network and use your free daily bet points to earn real-world prizes. Click on the page and start winning now.
Hi, welcome to SBR Forum Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. We are previewing the main card of UFC 173 right now with Nick Kalikas from MMA oddsbreaker.com. And Nick, of course, is our regular guest, and he is a professional MMA odds maker. He opens lines and advises numerous sports books. And our call-in guest, also from MMA oddsbreaker.com, is another returning guest, Brian Heminger. All right. Daniel Cormier and Dan Henderson is the next fight we're going to cover, and this is an interesting one, right? Cormier minus 850 right now at 5 dimes. Henderson on the other side plus 575. And as illustrious a career as Henderson has had, a lot of people are saying this is just like Henderson shouldn't be fighting here. It's just an absolute mismatch. There's no reason this fight should be happening. Brian Heminger, what do you think?
I do think that this is going to be pretty lopsided, because before Henderson knocked out Shogun, he was in a world of hurt. He got rocked and dropped multiple times in that fight. He's been rocked and hurt in almost all of his recent fights. And, it's starting to catch up to him. And also, this will be his first fight without TRT.
Right.
So I'm thinking Daniel Cormier is definitely on track to have a very impressive performance.
All right, Nick Kalikas. Here we have another huge favorite, minus 850. Where'd you open this one? I'm assuming, does Dan Henderson still, always a fan favorite, does he still take decent public action?
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, look what happened to the last line. I mean, right before it closed, the Shogun line, Shogun was up over 2-1 for the majority of the time, and it closed, I believe, 150, 160. I forget the exact closing number. I don't have it in front of me right now, but he got some tremendous amount of action that came in his way, and he will constantly. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see this line drop. I mean, in Cormier's last fight, I opened him extremely high against Cummings, and the line ended up dropping to actually Cummings got more respect than Hendo's getting right now, believe it or not. So that's a little bit of surprise here. But that being said, Dan Henderson will definitely get some action back. But it is a hard fight, like you said. I mean, Cormier is a younger, fresher fighter. He's got the wrestling to keep it on the feet. He's got the explosiveness. He's got the speed. And like we said, Henderson has been getting rocked recently. But, man, you can never count out that power. And laying anything, I think, over 5-1 against somebody like Henderson, you're asking for him to land and to get beat. So I don't think even though Cormier should roll in this fight, it's always dangerous to really bet against a guy like Henderson with that much pure knockout power.
Yeah, and the truth is, as much as people, look to individual factors for why, Henderson should retire, he's made it this far and he continues on, and no one has been really able to prove definitively that he should retire. I'm thinking that this might be the fight where that does happen, though. What do you think, Brian Heminger?
I don't know if it'll be the one that proves he has to retire. I just think this will prove that he's not that absolute top tier guy in the light heavyweight division anymore, because when he first entered the UFC and had the fight of one of the greatest fights of all time against Shogun, that clearly set him in as one of the top guys in the division, and he should be fighting John Jones. He actually almost did, but now I think this fight will without a doubt prove that he shouldn't be fighting these top 5 type opponents in the light heavyweight division. He can still have a lot of fun fights against a lot of really good big names in the light heavyweight division, but this is the one that people will start to be a little worried about him.
All right, so maybe this is another one where we look for for a prop to find maybe better value. You might want to take a shot with Cormier at minus 850. Henderson having such a puncher's chance, but with Henderson's questionable skills and with no TRT, plus 575 might not quite be enough. Brian Heminger, if you had to make a bet on a prop here, what would you consider to be the most attractive?
I would say Cormier by TKO. I mean, he just showed off his power against Cummings in his last fight, and we have seen Dan Henderson just get hurt and hurt and hurt again repeatedly in all of his most recent fights. And Shogun should have finished him in his last fight, and just barely didn't. And I think the Dan Cormier by TKO prop will probably be pretty enticing come fight night, especially because Cormier, I don't think he really threatens with submissions at all. So if he wins, it's probably going to come inside the distance, and it's probably going to be a TKO.
Okay, well then how about this? Again, the under 2.5 right now is at plus 140 at 5 dimes, and like you just said, you like Cormier by TKO, and if Henderson, catches Cormier, then that's going to be, inside the distance as well. What about under 2.5 rounds, plus 140 right now?
Oh, absolutely. That's a steal, because that also basically protects you in case Dan Henderson lands the H-bomb and gets a knockout win. So it kind of protects both sides. Plus 140, I think, is a great price.
That's what I'm thinking. Nick Kalikas, what's your take on these lines for the total?
Well, I mean, there's people betting both sides of this, honestly, and it's one of those cases, honestly, that you cannot underestimate Henderson. I mean, he's only been knocked out. Really, the only person to get him out of there has been Vitor Belfort, and that was quick. That was crazy. I mean, Vitor, all sorts of steroids, and in Brazil, factoring all that stuff in, it's not a huge shocker that it went down like it did. But I know he got put on his butt a few times and almost out cold against Shogun, but he managed to survive. I'm not sure how he did it, but the guy managed to survive. Cormier, before his last fight with Cummings, I mean, in the heavyweight division, he wasn't finishing people.
Yeah.
So if you look at it that way, I think a lot of people believe that Henderson, before his little run here and that he's been getting dropped and tagged, I mean, the guy has a granite chin, no doubt about it. So I hate betting unders, because more times than not, the fight ends up when you think it's, oh, for sure it's going to go under.
Yeah.
A lot of times you get surprised and it goes over. I mean, I'm going to look back to the Hunt fight versus Bigfoot. I mean, I never expected Hunt and Bigfoot to go all 5 rounds, and that fight made it 5 rounds. I mean, we've seen scenarios that it doesn't make sense for the fight to go, and somehow it goes. So, you know, that's where I would honestly probably stay away from this total, because it's a little strange. I agree with you guys. I think the common sense says Cormier probably will stop him inside the distance, or if Henderson pulls off the upset, it's probably going to be inside as well. So I would lean on the under, but personally, I wouldn't bet it. I mean, I've been burnt on those unders more times than I've not. So that's my take on it.
So Nick, it's sounding like you're probably going to be, the books are probably going to be split on this one, or maybe possibly even needing Cormier?
Well, it depends. I mean, late action, it depends how much Henderson takes in, really. But overall, I think we are going to be pretty close on this. Everybody's going to be parlaying Cormier, thinking it's an automatic win. And like I said, I think a lot of the heavy straight bettors are actually going to take a shot at Dan Henderson's power at some point. So I think this is going to be a little bit closer than the fight we were just talking about with Brow and Dillashaw. I think it's going to be a little bit more balanced. And I don't mind that. I mean, in a fight like this, it's like I said, it's almost a little weird for me. I expect Cormier to roll in this fight just like everybody else, but it just, I don't know. There's something about this fight that doesn't make sense, and you can never count out Dan Henderson.
Yeah,
he's proven it time and time again.
All right. Well, yeah, I'm going to go with the under 2.5 at plus 140 for my pick. Again, if it was like minus 110, I wouldn't do it, but at plus 140, I think that's going to be my pick. Brian Heminger, can we get a final pick from you on this fight? It can be the total, a side, or a prop.
Well, I'm definitely going to pick Cormier straight, but I think the under, I'm going to take a shot on it. I think he's got a good chance, and it also, again, protects you with Henderson's H-bomb. So I think Cormier's power is translating to the light heavyweight division, and you're going to see something special here.
All right. Thanks so much, guys.